Morning,
Morning, Lovey.
John.
How you doing today?
Great. How about you?
We're doing great. Thanks for coming on with us. We talked to your linebackers about Miles and you and similarities and differences. Uh, can you tell us about Miles as a coach, why you wanted him, and what do you see of yourself in him, and how important is it to be his own man?
Well, John, I think it's hard. I think every father and son, as you talk to them, when you're around somebody all your life, you're going to take on some of the things that, that they have. And as a football coach all my life, I mean, my sons have been around me. They've seen me in every situation. Miles in particular has gone to training camp with me. He's been in game plan meetings. I'm talking about long before he started coaching. He got a chance to see it from another point of view and felt like that's what he wanted to do. From that moment on, as a process you go through. I went to Tampa. He quality control for a couple of years, and I had a chance to bring him up to and got a chance to see it grind from the start. We all started down there grinding, breaking down video, and starting to put your philosophy in place on taking different things from different people. So, yeah, I'm sure he's gotten a little bit from me. What I liked about him, he's intelligent, number one, and he knows the game, and some of the things I think important on how you coach, how you teach, he believes in. I've had a chance to see him do that. And, his last stop at the University of Illinois, the linebackers played well. He knows our system well. And he's done a good job with our players here in a limited amount of time we've had with them. And know what we're going to get from him as we go through the season.
How rewarding is it for you to be able to come back to the NFL and have him with you?
Very rewarding. When you've been in business as long as I have been, there's most people you like to work with again, but there's some, it's just special that you get a chance to work with. And in NFL, it was strategic to come back here. I missed my time away from it to be able to just, we talk football all day, and to be able to do that and just concentrate on the teaching aspect of that has been important. And I believe in what we do and can't wait to, be a good lieutenant, for Coach Coley and get the Texans back on track.
Christy.
Hey, Lovey, to kind of build on that, after being or working in college for the last few years, what is the transition been like to come back to the NFL? And has there been any challenges that maybe you didn't think of since you were away for a while?
Well, as you can see here, I've kind of been in a lot of situations, most of them. And I don't think, when I left NFL and went to college, I've seen most of the things. The offensive part of the game has changed a little bit in college football, with the run quarterback focus offenses. I think it's just helped, me kind of solidify some of the things that I believe, which should help us. A lot of the college aspects of offensive football are coming to the NFL now. So we feel like we'll be prepared for a lot of that. But, and in the end, and it's still about, getting off blocks, tackling, defensively finding a way to take the ball away, to be good on third downs, play a physical brand of football. That's not going to ever change.
Mark Berman.
Well, I got a couple questions, kind of piggybacking on the father-son thing. Have you given much thought to the fact that the cliche is that the ultimate compliment for a parent is when their son or daughter follows in their footsteps? And that's what your son is doing right now. What do you think about that thought?
Well, I buy into it. It is, I take that seriously, that we expose our children to a lot of different things growing up. And for Miles to choose this, there's a long period of time where I thought he would go into law a little bit like one of his brothers has a law degree and all that. But for him to choose that and want to do that for a living says an awful lot. And it really is. It's special every day. Well, you could, I'm a football guy. I like talking football all day, no limitations on when you can do it. And when you have somebody that's close with, you can do that always.
One on-field question, some thoughts about the challenges for guys like Jacob Martin and Jonathan Grenard, who in your system effectively changing positions. What are the challenges there for them as you see it?
Well, both of those guys are football guys, and football players know that change is a part of our sport, and you have to be adaptable to different ways of doing things. And I think sometimes when there's a change, it can be a perfect change for you a little bit. I know Jonathan and Jacob both fit our profile for what we play with at the defensive end position. They have both looked really good, and the all-season workouts that we've been able to work with them with, really excited about their futures. And I can say that about a lot of our young football players. They have been eager to learn, showed up on voluntary workouts quite a bit, and I've seen marked improvement from day one.
Aaron Reese.
Hey, Lovey, I know your system places a lot of emphasis on the linebackers, but what specifically about Zach Cunningham's responsibilities maybe will be different this year compared to what he's been asked to do in the past here in Houston?
Well, with the type of year Zach had last year, I think he was the leading tackler in the NFL. When just talking about linebacker in general, you want a guy that's going to be around the football quite a bit. We don't have to reinvent that with Zach. He knows how to get around the football. I just know in our system, history tells you a lot. We've had some special players that play his position specifically. He'll have an opportunity to blitz. He's an excellent blitzer, I think. We talked about tackling. The other part of his game that I'm anxious to see him take another step in is the pass part of it. We're always talking about taking the ball away as an interceptor, zone coverage. But he's still a young football player, and I know he's a football guy. So we're just anxious to get it here, be able to really work with him full time.
We probably have time for these last four here. Aaron Wilson.
Lovey, how you doing?
Doing great. How about Aaron?
Great, thank you. Lovey, when you look at Bradley Roby, I know you won't have him for the first game of the season due to the ED suspension, but what do you see from him as a skill set, and how do you feel about him lining up against some of the top receivers in the league? Thank you.
Well, number one, I think he has that skill set to be able to do that. Excellent speed, quickness, change of direction, all of that. He's a willing tackler. We need him to be our one cornerback as much as anything. And you just look at our division. Division is seem like daily, it's getting stronger at the wide receiver position. There'll be some big challenges that we'll have. Most people assume we're going to play, I hear it always, hey, well, you guys don't need corners. You play cover two every snap. Well, we play a little bit more than cover two every snap. And we'll need to be able to match up on the outside. And we feel like we'll have not just Bradley that can do it, but others also.
DP.
Hi, Lovey. We've heard from several of your linebackers that your defense is one that's very linebacker friendly and they really enjoy playing in it. What do you think it is about your system that they really enjoy, and what is the profile of the linebacker that really fits into your system?
Well, I hope safeties say that, man, this is a safety-friendly defense. And those defensive linemen, man, Lovey, we like that four-man rush. Hopefully they're going to say it too. But no, it is a linebacker-friendly system. And what we're looking for is skilled athletes. Nowadays, linebackers have to do more than just tackle. They need to be able to play in space. They need to be able to play man coverage on, seem like the tight end position is getting better and better. That matchup can be a tough one, but we blitz. Our linebackers need to be able to play excellent zone coverage, man coverage, and of course, make a lot of tackles. It takes a certain type of athlete to do that. We talk as a whole, just what we're looking for. We want to have a fast defense. We won't be playing with big guys that can't run at any positions. And we want our linebackers to have athletic ability where we feel comfortable with them guarding a running back on the outside.
Brandon.
What you were hitting on this earlier, obviously we all know that a likely Hall of Fame receiver is joining the division now. What was your sort of reaction to seeing Julio Jones go to the Titans and knowing that, as a game planner and scheming it up, you're going to have to be the one to to figure out exactly how y'all gonna attack that?
Well, how can you, I've known, Julio for a long period of time. Remember when he came out of college initially from Alabama. And he's just a special player. But it seemed like, each week we're going to be saying that there's a special player, at least one or two. That's what our guys signed up. That's what we signed up for, to play top guys at all positions each week. And as an NFL player, you got to want that challenge. And we got what we're asking for. Tennessee got stronger when they added a player like Julio to the roster. But, you look up North and Indy, they have some scholarship receivers also. And Tennessee, of course, does. And Jacksonville, there are a lot of guys that will be a big challenge for us. And not just guys that can catch and run, but receivers with size. So we'll have a plan.
Last one for John.
Lovey, could you talk about Whitney Merciless, what your plans are for him and what do you expect from him since he spent his whole career as a 3-4 outside linebacker?
Well, John, just looking at the 3-4 part, before that, he was a 4-3 guy. And with this profile and what we're looking for, Whitney can run, he can rush off the edge. We start with that with our up front guys. I mean, in an ideal world, some places say, hey, to get pressure, we got to blitz. Now, we start off saying that we need to be able to get pressure with our 4-man rush. And a part of that is our outside guys being able to win. Whitney has proven in his time in NFL that he can win on the outside. And he's in good shape right now. He's going to play lighter than he played last year. That body type has had success in our system. And we talked about a lot of the young players, but to have an older player that's done it the right way, that's been a great Texan. So I'm excited about him too. And he's going to have a good year for us.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Good morning, Tim. How you doing today?
Good, John. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Could you tell us what it's like coaching without Watson and with an entire new group of quarterbacks, and give us a rundown of your 3 guys, how they're doing and what your expectations are?
Yeah, it's been going through, the past couple of weeks has been really good working with the guys that we have here. Obviously, starting with Tyrod, a pro's pro, comes in, is prepared. He's seen everything. He's heard everything. He's been great in the locker room. It's been great to get his perspective on how he sees things. And he's been great to work with. Davis has come in here and he's put his head down. He's gone to work. He's doing everything he can to learn the intricacies of the offense. It seems like every year we talk about rookies and how hard that transition is from college to the NFL. And he's in here, busting his butt and again, putting in all the work and doing all the right things. And then Jeff's come in and has done a great job acclimating to our offense. He's been around, he's seen some things. So really, putting in the time there to learn and we're figuring out ways to take advantage of all 3 guys' skill sets.
Are you able to comment on what it's like not having Watson there?
No, sir.
Mark Berman.
Tim, Coach Shaw at Stanford talked about how they run pro-style systems, which he felt like should enable Davis to kind of just make that transition to the NFL rather seamlessly. Have you noticed about his knowledge, what he's done with pro-style systems at Stanford, how much that's helped him kind of get a head start, if you will, here?
Sure. Yeah. Anytime, you're exposed to a quote unquote pro style offense, in college, it's going to help ease the transition. But at the same time, it's still coming in and learning a new language and translating everything that he's learned being said one way to a different way. And he was going to, get into a situation like that no matter where he ended up. So he's doing a good job, again, trying to make that transition as quickly and as smoothly as he can. And again, looking forward to him having another good day at work today.
He talked the other day about the opportunity, getting the chance to work with Tyrod and looking up to him and learning from him. How special is that when you hear that coming from a guy like Davis?
It's great. And I think that's just just goes to show how good of a person, Tyrod is coming in here. And again, offering up the knowledge that he's been able to accumulate over his 11-year career now. So he's doing a good job sharing all those things. If anybody has a question, he's open to answering it. And again, having an experienced guy in the room is only going to help kind of the maturation process there.
Thank you.
Aaron Reese.
Hey, Tim, obviously Deshaun can run too, but what sort of benefit or what goes into kind of maximizing Terod's skill set as a runner, and what sort of boost can he offer to the running game? Nothing's really changed as far as that, Aaron, as far as being able to figure out different ways to take advantage of those guys' skill sets. So all three of the quarterbacks that we have in the room right now are capable athletes and are able to not only hurt the defense with their arm, but with their legs too. So we're going to continue to look to stress defenses any way we can. Again, all three of their skill sets kind of offer us the ability to do so.
Christy.
You have a really interesting group of running backs that have been added in this offseason with the Heisman Trophy winner and with Lindsey. Can you just kind of talk about how it changes the dynamic and kind of all the different, types of talent you have in the room now?
Yeah, it's definitely, different running backs there with David, with Mark, with Phillip, with Buddy, with Scotty, that entire room. Each guy offers a different skill set, as you were alluding to there. So it's been good to get to know those guys, get to see what they can do well. And again, continuing to find different ways to put them in a position to where we're asking them to do something that they're very good at and they thrive at. The more, we can do that as a coaching staff, the more success we're going to have as an offense.
Adam Wexler.
Hey, Tim, you've had a chance to work alongside some experienced coaches before. Pep is now another one. What has it been like, collaborating with him on what you'd like to see in your offense and your quarterbacks?
Yeah, it's been great working with all those guys, bringing in, from Pep to Camp, to RP, to Andy, to Ben, to, the entire staff has been an experienced staff, and being able to kind of pick those guys' minds and talk to Pep about how he's viewed certain things or how he's done certain things in the past. And, talking to Campy about how they've blocked certain plays and different places they've been, to the success that, Andy had running the ball up in Baltimore, to the success that RP had developing players up in Detroit. It's been really good for me to continue to grow and develop, to get those different experiences and the different opinions in the room. Again, always trying to find different ways to improve our offense and put as many points on the board as possible.
Aaron Wilson.
Hey, good morning, Tim.
Good morning.
Tim, when you look at the tight end position and Jordan Akins and Brevin Jordan, what do you feel like these guys can do after the catch, and just in terms of some of the versatility you have about being able to line them up either in line or split them out?
Yes, sir. As far as Jordan Akins' ability after the catch, I think that's one of the best things that he does. He's a very strong runner. He's got great play strength. So you see him able to break tackles, turn a 3-yard check down into a 16-yard chunk play. So that's something that Jordan's been able to do here throughout his career. And with Brevin, we're looking forward to him continuing to learn the offense. And obviously right now, we're just in helmets, but when we get out there and put pads on, we'll be able to see his ability to make NFL players miss and what he's got to do to continue to put himself in those positions. But as far as Akins' ability to be a strong runner in the NFL, that's goes without being said here with the production that he's had over the past couple of years, being able to do things like that for us.
John.
Tim, you have 8 new receivers. How difficult is that to incorporate that many into your system? And also, could you tell us about the progress of Nico Collins, please?
Yes, sir. So all those wideouts that have come into the room and done a great job of really going through the playbook with RP and Ben and really learning it. Obviously, that's the biggest thing here. The first however many weeks we were together via Zoom is we couldn't be together in person. So we had to be meeting virtually and teaching the formations and the plays and getting lined up and what am I able to do. So they did a great job doing that. So when we were able to get on the grass here a couple of weeks ago, we were able to really get out there and start to work on route timing. So each day they've been out there, They've done a great job doing whatever the quarterbacks have asked them to do and trying to build that chemistry. And again, there's, like you said, there's 8 new guys in there. So there's a lot of work to be done there, but hopefully today we're able to take another step. And then Nico, like we've talked about with Brevin and with Davis, he's doing a good job coming in here, learning the offense. Making that transition. It's a totally different game, especially for a guy who didn't play last year, who opted out. So he's done a great job. He came in great shape. And he's really learning the offense, and he's been impressive. And hopefully he can, like I said with Davis and Brevin, hopefully he can put together another good day here this afternoon.
We have time for 2 more. We'll go Brandon and then Sarah.
Hey, Tim, with the running game, and as far as improving it, is that just as simple as the personnel changes and coaching changes that you guys have made that will help you guys? Or is there anything like schematically that you guys are looking at to help improve the run game?
Yeah, I think it's all areas. Schematically, well, first and foremost, I've got to do a better job, calling more runs. Going back and looking at it, got to do a good job calling more runs, and letting our backs and our line get into a rhythm and get into a groove as far as how that game's being played out up front. And then, each year Brandon, you go into the offseason looking at different schematic ways and personnel ways that you can improve. And we feel like we've done that. So we're going to continue to work and we're going to continue to find ways to be more effective running the football.
Sarah.
Hi, Tim. The start of your offseason was like a little bit of a unique situation because you're back, but a lot of the previous coaching staff isn't. What was that like for you? Wondering if you could just take us through the process and kind of what was going through your head while you waited for the Texans to hire a new head coach and kind of see if you were going to stay.
It was, it was different. Obviously it was a great day when I could come home and tell Nora and Quinn that they can still be friends with Toro, and that would have been a big deal in the Kelly household, having to find a replacement for Toro. But no, it was good. Being able to sit down and talk with Nick and then talk with Coach Coley, and when they offered me the position to come back, I was elated. It's a great organization that's filled with great people from top to bottom, and we look forward to getting this thing turned around. And when I was able to come home and tell the girls that, they were excited. And then really it went from being excited, okay, to here, let's go. We got to get down to work. There's a lot of work to be done. And we made that transition quickly. And then as soon as the coaching staff got together, we already talked about it earlier, but being able to talk to those guys and continue to build this thing up the right way so we can have, sustained success here. But that was really the biggest thing for us there.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, guys.
When you look at the return game and what Andre Roberts brings to the table, obviously, a Pro Bowl selection these last few years, how dynamic do you feel like he can be in some of the things you want to do and get things done as far as getting up the field?
Yeah, so, any player that's at the return game, you want to be able to attack aggressively. And I think just watching the course of his career, especially in the kickoff and, punt return game that he's had, even as a ball carrier on offense, but especially in the return game, like runs aggressively, attacks downhill, finishes runs as a returner. And you just love to see that. I mean, playing against him multiple times in our past, he's been, a spot that, hey, this is an emphasis. We got to cover this guy.
Frank, speaking of emphasis, I know that Nick Casario has put a lot of emphasis on guys that can play in the kicking game and be good on kick coverage. What do you see from some of the guys they have coming back and some of the guys you've added that in particular have that ability to compete and help you on special teams to cover kicks and punts? Thanks.
Yeah, so every special team coach across the league wants to be aggressive and they want to have good team speed. I think we have that here. Going to continue to train and develop our guys for that. But when I did get here, when we were assembled as a staff, guys that we talked to from the previous roster, they're still on, guys like AJ Moore, guys like Keon Cross, and those guys have a bite to them and they love covering kicks, and having competed against those guys in the past few years, there's nothing different. That's the same mentality. And Nick has done a great job of adding to that pool only to increase our team speed and aggression in the coverage game.
John?
Frank, Brian Anger did a really good job as a punter here, and y'all gave Johnston a 3-year contract to get him. Talk about him as a punter and what your expectations are for him and your punt coverage.
I can't wait to meet you in person, sir. I met you when I was a scout with the Patriots, and I told you I had always appreciated your work. So hope to meet you soon here in person. But
Thank you very much.
yeah,
Thank you.
of course. Yeah, no, Cameron Johnston, man, what a tremendous talent. What a special player. Young player in his own, maybe not in age, but young player to the game of football. So just having such versatility coming out of Ohio State, having that Australian rugby rugby and Australian football rules background brings such an increased amount of versatility. Powerful young man, powerful leg, both in the weight room and it translates to the field. So his ability to use that in multiple ways is a tremendous asset to the punt unit.
Go ahead, John.
Yes, Frank, could you talk about Fairbairn and Weeks? And because that Weeks, of course, is a senior member of the team, but Kamey's been around here for a while now. You've seen those guys. What do you think about him?
Yeah, sure. I think Kaimi's coming off of his finest year, and hopefully just continuing to elevate and raise his level of play. Has been very consistent and really happy with where he's at in the spring. And just overall, especially with a guy like John Weeks, overall having the ability to gel quickly, in the spring here has been great. Those guys are really look, our special units our special team units are going to go as far as those three go. And I think you can see that from years past. And hopefully that arrow continues to trend upward with those three there.
I wanted to start off by asking you about Lonnie Johnson and just, he made the transition from corner to safety, as you obviously know. What did you see on film from him coming in that you liked from him at that position? And what do you think his potential could be there this year?
Well, the first thing I saw was the length, how tall, how long he was. And I think the biggest thing when you look at a player like that, and he's got the size, the first thing you think about is, man, that would be a great looking safety. One of the things about him is that, he has all the ability to come inside and play. The problem with that sometimes with corners moving to safety is that you have those guys that are usually playing everything from outside in. And I think he's done a tremendous job at moving to the safety position and start to understand how to take the proper angles as a safety. It's a little bit different, playing the corner position because you're just, like I said, you're just playing everything from outside in. With him, it's more of the just repetition for him and being consistent at what he does. I mean, he's a really good player. He's athletic, but I think the biggest thing with him is just understanding the concept of the safety position and how to just take proper angles and how to be a better tackler. And I think one of the things with him just doing this OTA camp is that he's been doing a pretty good job at doing those things. He's been focused, he's been concentrating, he's been here. And that's the first step that he must take.
And I also wanted to ask you about the rookie Garrett Wallow. I know he's a linebacker, but he's got a safety background. So I was just curious if y'all are working him there at all and if you see anything there from the rookie.
No, he's strictly a linebacker. One of the things he's probably at the Will or Mike position, which, in our system, we usually move safeties to linebackers and corners to safeties. So I have not looked at him for a safety position, and Coach Miles would not allow that to happen. So he's been looking pretty good at the linebacker position.
John?
Greg, tell us about Justin Reed. I know you've seen him from afar. Now that you've seen him up close and personal, what do you like about him and how good can he be in this system?
I love him as a player. I think he has all the ability in the world to be that safety that's a leader back there. I think he's a good tackler. Just from watching on tape, I think he's a guy that can play from sideline to sideline versus the pass. And I think he is a really good communicator back there. He's really smart, really bright. And one thing about Justin, he's always going to ask you the difficult questions in the classroom. So I like all those things about him. I think it's just a matter of him and all the other guys just being consistent on a daily basis in order to get better.
Aaron Wilson.
Hey, you doing great? I want to ask you about Eric Murray. Eric had to play a lot of nickel last year. They had a lot of injuries in the secondary, as you know. What have you seen from Eric just as a pure safety? And is that kind of ideally what you guys hope for and envision from him in his role this year as opposed to last year? I know that it's good that he can do those things, but ideally, would you just like him to play safety?
You know, when you look at Eric, that's a guy who can play both safety positions, strong and free. And he has the ability to play nickel as well, which I think that's huge in our system. But I think what you want to do with Eric, since, you know, all the guys look at him as a leader, I think one of the things, if you want to start Eric off at probably one position and solidify that position. And then if anything happens to happen to other players, now you could move him into those other areas, knowing that he can do it. But I think with Eric, one of the things we need to do is just focus on one position. And because he's such an athletic player and a good player, you know, and, you know, if he could focus on free, focus on strong, you know, that'll solidify his position.
And piggybacking off of John's question about Justin Reed, Justin has said it himself. He wasn't thrilled with last year, and obviously the defense as a whole, you know, didn't finish very high. What did you see when you watched Justin's tape as opposed to where he was when he first came to the NFL, when he's intercepting a lot of passes and just making more big plays? Thank you.
When I watched the tape, the first thing I thought about is he's thinking too much and not just playing football. When I say that, I say he's making a lot of different checks, communicating with different guys, rather than just trying to focus on playing the free safety position, which is just looking at the formations, looking at tendencies, you know, out on the field, following the quarterback. And I think in this system here, I think he's going to rise up, and I think he's going to do some good things for us, because this defense is simple, but it's fast, and it allows you to play football. And that's what we try to instill in our players, is that we're not going to make anything difficult for you. We're going to try to make it as simple as possible, and we're going to allow you to play football. And I think that's what you see in Justin, when you watch the tape, is that he's going to improve. You just need to take a whole bunch of the thinking out, you know, because even though he's a smart player, when you get out on that football field, it's all about playing fast. And I think, you know, in this system, it's going to allow him to do that.
John.
Yes, Greg, since you coached Eric, what similarities do you see between the two brothers?
Yeah, you heard me just say Eric a little bit because I tell him every time, I mean, you see the same similarities. You know, the only difference is, and Eric's probably going to get upset, is that Justin's faster than Eric. They think the same. They move the same. Eric was just a little bigger than Justin. They think the same as far as on the football field, communication-wise. They were smart players. And the thing about Eric is that Eric was more of a strong safety type player, you know, that could play low, but at the same time could play on the back end as well. And I see Justin as the same type player, but the only difference is Justin has tremendous speed. You know, he can play from sideline to sideline, and he could play with great angles and make good open field tackles. So I see both of those guys the same. I just see Justin as a new age safety now. And I see Eric as the old age safety, which was a bigger type safety. I think Justin is that type of guy now, can play a nickel, can play strong, can play free safety, can play all three positions.
Brandon.
Yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on Justin Reed and Lonnie Johnson as a tandem blitzing. You know, we got to see a little bit of that last year, some flashes of it. What do you think about the potential there?
I think you're going to see both of those guys blitz off the edge, if you may say. I think they're good blitzers. You know, one of the things as far as safeties are concerned, that's not an everyday thing for us. we don't practice that like the D-line does, a pass rush. So I think they do a good job at that. We're not going to make that a cornerstone of the defense to where the safety is going to blitz a lot. We may do it every now and then, but I think those guys are better deep part of the field defenders, and I think they're better cover guys, but they do blitz well, but we want to keep those guys on the back end of the field a lot more, have them go get the ball rather than blitzing the quarterback and making sacks.
Last one for Adam Wexler.
Hey, Coach. The Texans have had Jonathan Owens here for the last couple of years, practice squad, limited use, but obviously they saw something in him, and that's why he's here again. What do you see in him as you get started on the field and in the classroom with him?
I see a very athletic safety that has come from Arizona, playing the nickel, playing corner, playing safety. He's another guy that can play multiple positions. I really like his athletic ability. He's a smart player. He's very studious in the classroom. He asks a bunch of questions. One of the things about Jonathan is that we're trying to put him at one position and see if he can be consistent at that one position, because we see all the athletic ability. It's just a matter of giving him the opportunity to play that one position and improve each and every day.
Bobby, how you doing today?
Hey, John, what's going on?
All kind of good things. Could you talk about your transition to the defensive line and what it's like working with Lovey and the differences in switching to his system?
First off, don't tell anybody, John, but I've always kind of been a D lineman at heart. That's what I played. And early in my coaching career, that's what I coached. And to be honest with you, the last couple of years are the only years I haven't worked with the front. When I was an outside backers coach, I was working with the D line all the time, just on third down and all that stuff. So hasn't been that huge of a transition. Working with Coach Smith has been unbelievable. The system has been great to learn. It's helping me, and I'm learning every day from him. So it's been outstanding.
Mark Berman.
Bobby, what have you thought of the transition that Jacob and Jonathan Gennard have made going from linebacker to D-line?
You know what? It hasn't been that difficult of a transition. The only thing is they're going to have their hand in the dirt just a little bit more. When we went to our nickel package in the past with those guys, they played defensive ends. So, with Jacob, we're asking him to put a couple pounds on, and he's going to. But the transition has been fine so far, just hand in the dirt a little bit more.
What are the challenges when you ask a player to add weight? How does that affect what they're doing, or does it?
Well, if they add it smart, it's the right thing to do. But, if you're going to get hit with a fat grenade in 2 weeks, I'm not asking you to do that. But put it on the right way over a couple months. It's obviously a good thing.
Aaron Wilson.
Good one on the fat grenade. That was
Hey,
how you doing? When you look at Charles Omenihu, a lot of guys looked at statistically how often he got to the quarterback, just in terms of amount of snaps. What do you see from Charles in terms of upside and potential, and just what he could do now that he's got a couple of years under his belt?
Charles is a guy that has versatility just because of his size and length. You can play him in a lot of positions, and he can affect the quarterback in a lot of different ways. So, that's the thing with Chuck. We're telling him, don't be a square peg in a round hole. If we ask you to play 3 technique, 6 technique, 5 technique, whatever, he's up for it. And, we expect big things from Chuck this year.
And Ross Blacklock, now that he's heading into his second season, what kind of offseason is Ross having? And you guys obviously drafted him in the second round last year for a reason. What kind of talent do you see from Ross, and what does he need to do to contribute more this year?
This is his first offseason. Last year, we did not meet in person. It was all Zoom. So a lot of the rust, a lot of the nuances about playing the defensive line position, he's learning right now. And so to answer your question, what do we expect? I expect a lot out of him. He has been as advertised with the weight staff, with everybody so far, and with me, and look forward to working with Ross.
Adam Wexler.
Hey, Coach, what do you think you have in Jenkins, both the person and the player?
Jenkins is a person. He's a leader, no nonsense. I've enjoyed every minute with him so far. As a player, he's a tough guy. He brings that hidden toughness to you that you can't coach. He's going to get off blocks. He's going to do a lot of dirty work.
And you can't have enough guys like Jordan Jenkins.
When you say he's a leader, he's obviously only been here 2 months. He's a new player to the team. How is that so evident so quickly with a guy like that?
Guys just gravitate towards him, Adam. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not a real rah-rah guy, but they can see he's a man of handles his business, and guys fluctuate to that, and it's contagious.
John.
Bobby, we asked Lovey this question, but you know Whitney better than any of the coaches here. You talked earlier about hand in the dirt. What do you think about his transition, and what are you looking for him this season compared to what you were looking for him from before?
Well, with Whit, the funny thing is when we talked, about the hand in the dirt, that's the only thing that's different about what's going to be, his role this year. And he said, Coach, I haven't put my hand in the dirt consistently since my junior year at Illinois. And I said, well, that was about 10 years ago. So that's going to be the big thing. But to be honest, he's come in, John, and he's looked pretty natural doing it, hitting the sleds. Now, we're not going against offensive linemen, obviously, right now, but it's been a pretty natural transition. And, I continue to hopefully continue to see that.
Brandon.
Yeah, Coach, I just wanted to get your thoughts on, like, what do you think the defensive line can do to be better against the run this year? Obviously, that was a big struggle last season. How do you guys improve on that?
I hate to always say this cliche, but just doing your job. You know what I'm saying? Like doing your job, then help out. If you got a certain gap, win your gap. You got to do certain things to blocks, do that, and then help out. Everybody just got to do their job and then play with an edge. That's the big thing. You get a one-on-one block, defeat it and play with an edge. And that's what we're going to try and do.
Aaron Wilson.
Do you see some juice from Nico Collins inside? I know when he was in Dallas, he would flash some pass rush and would penetrate, and they didn't have that production last year with Vegas. But what do you see from him? What do you hope for from him this year?
Now, Aaron, we're only in nightgowns right now. We don't have pads on and all that stuff, but he's as advertised as a person and as a player so far, and I'm excited to work with him. Yes, he does have some juice, and I'm expecting some good things out of him.
Last one for John.
Bobby, you mentioned Blackhawk earlier. Since most of those guys make their biggest improvement going into the second season, and Grenard is moving, what have you seen from him so far, and what are your expectations for him?
You're talking about Grenard, John?
Yes.
He's another no nonsense kind of guy. He's definitely not a follower. I like what he brings intangible wise as a leader, and he's a tough guy. He's going to use his hands. He's going to shock you. He's going to play tough, play violent, and I'm expecting a good season out of Grenard also, John.
You got a lot of new cornerbacks who've come in, and of course, you're a new coach. Could you talk about the corners overall, and what's it like bringing in so many new ones?
Yeah, well, this is a new scheme for everyone. So the new players that are here isn't much of a greater challenge than it would be for anyone. I mean, it's a new scheme and a learning curve for everyone involved. As we talk about the experience of Bradley Roby, a guy that's played a lot of football in his career, experience is something that you can't teach, obviously. And then Terrence Mitchell and Vernon Hargreaves are guys that have played over 1,000 snaps last season. So excited about the experience at the top. And then we got a bunch of young players that are athletic and have played some football in their careers as well.
Brandon.
Hey, Coach, what is the challenge of just, improving? Obviously this defense struggled last year. You're obviously aware of that. What do you say is the biggest challenge for you guys as coaches and figuring out the pieces to the puzzle, so to speak?
Yeah, I think as you look at the offseason in a whole, you're not trying to turn things around in one day. It's about getting incrementally better each day and then letting the chips fall where they may. Again, they had some struggles last year, but we had some struggles last year in Philly as well. So again, the challenge isn't turning this thing around in one day. It's about improving every day incrementally and winning the day. And that's the short-term mindset that we've had going into this offseason.
And could you talk to us about some of those newer players? As John was mentioning, a lot of new guys and Desmond and Terrence and a lot of these guys that are coming in, some of what they bring to the table.
Yeah, I mean, both of those players are versatile players that have played a lot of football in their career. Desmond's played inside. He's going to play a little bit inside for us as well. Then he's played on the back end as well. So versatile player that we're going to use appropriately. and Terrence Mitchell in the same regard. I mean, he's played a lot of football in his career. He's played inside. He's played outside. He's tough. He's instinctive. So again, someone that we're going to use appropriately.
Aaron Wilson.
Hey, when you have someone like Desmond that's had the success he's had in the past, how do you sort of look at what he's done on film before and hope to bring that to the Texans? And he's made a lot of plays.
Again, he's a guy that's put himself around the football a lot in his career. I think he has to take advantage of the opportunities when they present himself. He's been around the football the past 2 years. I think early in his career, he was taking advantage of those opportunities. We got to get back to that. But again, he's a guy that's has a knack for the football, and he finds his way to get around the football.
What do you see from Javier Thomas? What do you feel like he brings to the table for you guys? Defense, and obviously he's a special teams guy too.
Just speed, toughness, instincts. A guy that knows one speed. Obviously, he's made most of his money in the NFL on special teams, but a guy that we value as well on defense. A guy that can play inside. Again, is tough, who can run, and he can tackle in space. So all things that we value on the defensive side of the football.
John.
Last year after Roby got suspended, Keon Crossan got to play a lot, and he made a lot of big plays. Could you give us an evaluation of Keon, where he is, and what are your expectations for him this season?
Well, really, the expectation for Keon is no different than anyone else. Again, it's about attacking the day and getting better each day. But as we look at Keon, he's an athletic player who can run. He's explosive. He's long for a guy his height, and he's got impressive ball skills being around him in the past couple weeks here. So a guy that we're excited about, a young player that's progressing and trending in the right direction.
Brandon.
Just going back to what you were saying about Desmond and getting to the ball, getting back to that, how exactly do you even coach that?
Just putting him in those situations and creating those competitive environments within practice. Obviously, that's something that we hang our hat on is creating a competitive culture within practice every day. Obviously, he's someone who's took advantage of those plays early in his career, and he's did a little bit last year as well. So something that he can do, and we're confident that he's going to do in the future.
John.
Yes, Dino, last year Hargrave started every game, but he kind of flew under the radar. What are your expectations for him?
Just, again, continue to get better. He's a guy who's instinctive, tough. He's got good ball skills. He's versatile. He's played a little bit inside early in his career. So someone that we value on the inside as well as the outside for our football team.
Miles, because your dad is so respected as a coach and a person, obviously you want to be your own man as a person and as a coach. But what traits do you think you have that your dad has? And how are you different as a coach than Love?
I would say one of the traits that I respect the most that he has is he's going to be one of the hardest working people in the building, always. You know, you need to be one of those guys who's the first in the building, last out of the building. And that's something I definitely am trying to mirror what he's done. You know, as a coach who's admittedly a little bit younger than he is, I think maybe I'll be able to, relate to the players in a different way than maybe a 62-year-old man or 63-year-old man can do. So in the end, I'm going to try to work my butt off the same way that he has taught me to do so. And I'll let my own personality kind of show up.
Brandon.
Miles, that's actually exactly what I wanted to hit on is being younger and being able to relate to the players. Can you explain what the value is in that? And also not just with the players, how does being young help with the relationship with your dad and kind of keeping him younger, so to speak?
I think when you're an older coach, you obviously have that wisdom at play. You've seen a lot of football, seen a lot of things that could happen, and there's a value to that. However, I would say that there also is a value to looking at things a little bit differently, getting fresh eyes on a situation. And by being a younger coach that hasn't necessarily been around all these scenarios, maybe, you could look at things a little bit differently. I think players respect that a little bit as well, because they know, hey, this is a guy that's, looking at something new the same way that, maybe they're looking at something new. I think there's a respect there that could be gained.
Aaron Wilson.
Hey, Miles. In a lot of your dad's defenses, linebackers have been sort of the signature players, the Brian Urlachers, the Derek Brooks over the years. Not to put anyone in Canton early, but with Zach, what kind of talent do you see from him as a guy that can kind of be a bell cow for your defense?
You know, as you've been saying, we've had a lot of great linebackers in our system. Zach has all the talent that any of those other guys have had. And again, I'm not trying to pump him up too much or anything like that, but I think he has shown that, he has the talent. He's played great ball in the past, and I think it's our job as coaches to help him reach his full potential. His full potential, he could be as good of a linebacker as anybody out there.
Do you see a competitive thing where we're not just talking about who makes the team, but for starting jobs at Zach will be one of those guys, but when you're talking about Christian and Neville and Kevin Pierre-Louis?
One of the great things that we've been able to do this offseason is create an extreme amount of competition in the linebacking core. We don't know who's going to start because, quite frankly, I think the OTAs in the offseason is more about teaching and learning than it is about evaluation. However, I would say that eventually we're going to have 3 linebackers on the field, and whichever 3 get on the field, they're going to show what they have.
John?
Miles, you've been going into dressing rooms since you were a kid. Was that an advantage to be in a locker room, have that in the background? And earlier you mentioned about your personality taking over. Describe your personality.
I do think there is an advantage to being around football, and not being around football necessarily in a position of pressure. I've been able to sit back in the background and learn from some of the great coaches and players that have been around. And it's definitely shaped me into who I am as a coach. Personality-wise, I would say I'm a guy that's a little bit more laid back. I'm not going to be a guy that's going to be screaming in different guys' faces. In the end, I'm a football coach, but to me, a football coach is just a teacher. I'm no different than a high school history teacher is, except my subject matter is football. So I try to take that approach personality-wise of just being a teacher, helping the guys learn. Everybody learns differently, and it's my job to help them, learn to the best of their abilities.
Aaron Reese?
And your dad said he thought the kind of area where he's excited to see Zach grow in was in coverage. What specifically do you think he can get better at in coverage as it applies to the system you guys are implementing here?
It's sort of a hard question for me to answer. What I would say is just by him focusing on the fundamentals, he'll be able to tighten up some of the small areas that he's been making. In the end, a successful pass play versus a non-successful pass play, I think it's really the small things and making sure that, you have good knee bend throughout the play, making sure that, you're playing slow until you identify what's going on and then you play fast. So I think it's more about him just tightening down on some of the fundamentals. He does that, I think he's going to be in good shape.
Mark?
Miles, I asked your father about the kind of the theory that when a father or when a son or daughter follows in their parents' footsteps, it's the ultimate compliment. And given the fact he thought you might go into the legal profession like your brother, he does buy into that theory about the compliment. What do you think about your following in his footsteps and the fact that it is the ultimate compliment for him?
I think a lot of sons or daughters, you're exposed to what your parents do. I was exposed to football at an early age. I continued to be exposed in it. And quite frankly, I just gravitated to it. I love football. Every single fall of my life, it's been all about the football season. And I do think that he did not push the football profession on me. It was me coming to him asking, hey, I want to do this. How do I take these next steps? And in that manner, he's kind of, provided and been that mentor that I've needed, helping me, avoid some of the mistakes maybe that he made in his past.
One non-football question: who's got the better beard?
Well, his is a little bit wider than mine is, but I think he definitely has me beat right now on the beard. But ask me again in about 6 months.
He seems to be very proud of the fact that it's extremely gray.
He is. I think he thinks that, the wider, the grayer it is, it gives wisdom or, whatever some old guys like to say.
Thanks.
Brandon.
Yeah, I think the gray beard is a nice touch too, to be honest with you. I'll be glad to get there. I'm trying to get to that point. Yeah, no, so the beard thing really it even threw me off track. Garrett Wallow. I asked Greg earlier about Garrett Wallow's background as a safety, and he was quick to check me that Garrett Wallow is playing linebacker and that you wouldn't give him to him or anything like that. So I'd be remiss not ask you about Garrett and what you see from him and how you think he fits into the scheme and everything.
Well, Garrett, he had a very good college career. And when we were interviewing players before the draft, he obviously was one of the guys that I had the privilege of interviewing. What stood out the most for him was just his intelligence. Playing linebacker in our system, yeah, you got to be a great athlete. I think everybody kind of knows that. But the second trait that we look for is just raw intelligence. Can somebody think on the fly? Can somebody, when they get a little rattled, are they still able to stay composed? And he was able to do that. Our linebackers are essentially interchangeable. Because of that, they need to be able to learn all three of the linebacking positions. And you got to be able to think to do that. I think he has grown exponentially since he's been here so far because he's been able to rely on the great attribute that he has, his intelligence. Very excited about his future.
Last one for Adam Wexler.
Hey, Coach, what did you take from or what did you learn from your time at Illinois before coming here to Houston?
I would say learning on how to deal with adversity. Things obviously didn't work out necessarily the exact way that we wanted to, but whenever you're put in a tough situation, you're able to learn from it. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I think that was the main thing that I learned. Hey, things aren't always going to go well, but in the end, you got to continue to wake up every morning. You got to continue to go to work and you got to grind your butt off. That's what I was able to gain from Illinois.
Good morning, Robert. Could you talk to us, please, about Nico Collins, what you liked about him coming out of college and how you feel about the progress he's made to this point?
Yeah, so really liked his size, liked his speed, plays physical, has a large catching radius, just something to add to our receiving core, just like those traits that he had.
Aaron Wilson.
Hey, good morning. What have you seen from Randall Cobb so far? Is he starting to get back to health? And what do you expect from him as far as a role this fall?
Sure. So Randall, he's been great in the meetings, his input. He's got great savvy and he's helping with the younger guys with that. And, with Randall, he's mainly a slot receiver and that's what we expect he'll be with us.
Mark Berman. Go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, sorry. Also wanted to ask you and look at Brandon Cooks as far as leadership and a guy that's been so established and had a lot of targets last year. What do you see from him as far as leading your receiver group?
Yeah, Brandon's been great with the group. First of all, he shows those guys the right way to practice. That's where it starts is he's a great leader, but the way he practices, he's not a talker only, he's a doer. And all you got to do is watch how he practices. As far as in meetings, he's very engaged. He asks the right questions and he's willing to take coaching. So if your top guy is willing to do that, then it's easy for the other guys to follow.
Mark.
Robert, how much do you, as you talked about, you touched on a little with Randall and just now with Brandon, how much does it help the coaching staff when you've got guys like that have been there and done that and can, as you say, show the way?
Yeah, it's great. Those two guys are definitely the leaders of the group. And first, both of them are willing to take coaching. And, some of the techniques that we're doing now are different than what they're used to. And, they're buying in, which helps with the whole group. But also some of the routes, they do have a little bit of nuances to them. And, when we'll watch Randall on some of the slot routes saying, hey, what were you thinking here? And he does a great job of giving input. And, the key is making something that was difficult look easy. and simplifying it. And that's what we're trying to do with some of the things.
How have those veterans, you said they're getting some techniques that are different. How are they adjusting that kind of thing as they get into something new, if that's what you're talking about?
Yeah. Sometimes you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And, like I said, some of the techniques are different. But what's great about this time of the year is you can slow things down and really work on those techniques. I mean, we're really working on whether it's stance and starts, releases, the stem of the route, the breakdown, or the catch. And some of the blocking things that we're doing, a little bit different than they're used to, but it's been great.
Brandon.
Yeah, Coach, I feel like you're kind of hitting on some of this already, but I wanted to ask you the adjustment. And considering everybody is different, what would you say is the biggest adjustment for a wide receiver going from college to the pros, aside from just obviously the speed of the game? What would you say are some of the other biggest adjustments for a player like?
That's a good question. Like you said, the speed of the game, guys got to get used to what's considered open in the NFL isn't the same as college. You can have a step, you can have inches on a guy, and the quarterback's seeing you as open, and we got to be ready to expect the ball. And that's the one thing with Nico. We loved his size and his catch radius, and understanding that he had the opportunity to make a lot of contested catches, and we felt like we needed to add a player like that to the room.
Aaron Reese.
Hey, another young receiver you have, Isaiah Colter. He spent, obviously didn't have the normal off season last year, and then spent some time on IR. Where do you kind of see him at and on that sort of development curve? Is he more kind of like a rookie, just given what the past year was like, or are there some things that seem a little more advanced than some of the other rookie guys?
Yeah, good question. I wasn't here last year to work with Isaiah, so for me, he's just a new guy and basically a rookie for me. So just like the other guys, just learning some techniques that we're trying to do this year. So for him, some of this stuff is new, and he's progressing.
DP.
Hi, Robert. What have you seen from Kiki QT? His career sort of had an up and down trajectory, but now that he's healthy and on the field and got some playing time last year, what have you seen from him this offseason?
With Kiki, same as long as the other guys, they're all trying to work these new techniques. Kiki has been doing more in the walkthroughs right now. And there's some things that, have changed for him that he's getting used to. And, just like the other guys, he has bought in and, working these techniques.
Adam Wexler.
Hey, Robert, prior to this season, did you have any familiarity with or any relationship with Coach Coley? And he's been a long-time wide receiver coach. You're the wide receiver coach. What's it like to work for a head coach who's been a wide receiver coach so long?
Coach Coley, he has a great reputation in this league. And, we actually have the same agent. And so, I've known Coach Coley for a while. But it's great to work with him. He's very positive, and he brings a little energy himself, and it's been great.
Are you underselling that when you say he brings a little energy?
Yeah, he very, very positive man. It's been great.
John.
Robert, it's hard enough for a rookie receiver to play in the NFL, make that adjustment, as you mentioned. But when you have a guy that opted out like Collins, is it going to be more difficult for him? And what has he done that you like specifically?
Well, with Nico, I don't know what the effects of the opt out are. One thing is, without playing last year, obviously you're missing a lot of game reps, but also gives you a chance to, be healthy. With Nico, the thing about Nico is he wants to get better every day. I mean, there's not a day that he comes and he's dreading coming to work. He looks forward to the meetings, getting better in the meetings and working out on the field. So, with that attitude, he has a chance to succeed.
Brandon.
Coach, going back a little bit to you mentioning some of the nuances in the route running and the concepts that y'all are introducing in camp. Could you just, without giving away trade secrets, could you kind of explain the value in that, why it's important for y'all to install that?
No, I'm just messing. So like I said,
I had to ask either way, right?
yeah. So, there's a lot of different techniques, and, there's things that, I've done in the past and, that I believe in. And, there's a certain teaching progression, and, we're kind of following that. And, we'll be in the meetings, we'll watch, we'll talk about the techniques. We'll watch cut-ups of the techniques. We'll see how to do it, what not to do. And then we'll go out in the field and, we'll work the techniques. And, like I said, some of them, they're used to some of them, and some of the techniques that they're not used to. So this time of year is a great time to work on that kind of stuff. And, we'll go out there and we do it. And then what we say is, once we get to the fall, then what we got to do is make these lines come to life, and, they can add their little flavor to it. But right now, we're trying to say, hey, these are the techniques we want you to use.
Last one for John.
Robert, we've asked you about the receivers who are back from last year and the young guys. What about all these veteran free agents you guys have brought in, who some of them at one time or another have been very productive? Tell us about the group of new veterans.
Oh, they've been great. Definitely adding competition to the whole group. And, that's what we wanted to do, is bring in competition. We have guys that do have some experience, like Chris Conley. He's coming in. He's another bigger guy. Dante Moncrief, Andre Roberts, who's a returner, has return value, who I actually coached, I think 2016 when he was with the Lions. And then we have Alex Erickson, all these veteran receivers that are coming in. Chris Moore, that Coach Coley has, some familiarity with in Baltimore. So all these guys, they're all willing workers, and they're all ready to come in here and compete.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Coach, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I wanted to ask you, just what is it like for you coming here and seeing so many familiar faces and working with some folks that you've worked with, albeit in a new place, and how are things with the offensive line so far, just from your vantage point?
It's always good to see familiar faces and guys that I've had an opportunity to work with before, and that's important, to continue with those friendships and so forth. Being here is a tremendous opportunity for us, for all of us to start at ground level and build something is always a special thing. Offensive line are working hard. We've had almost everyone here all the time, and they've done a heck of a job. And, I really appreciate all their efforts and learning and doing things a little bit different. And it's been good.
Also, what can you tell us about how the right side of the offensive line and the competition is going to shake out? There's a lot of curiosity on our end on, bringing in Marcus Cannon, him having the right tackle background, having Titus here, former first-round pick. How do you see that shaking out? And do you have an early impression on who might be the guard, who might be the left or the right tackle?
No, I really don't. I think there's we've brought in a lot of different players, and, I've added 2 rookie free agents out of Texas A&M that are good football players. I think there's just competition throughout the whole unit there. And I think that really, again, they're all, the neat thing is they're all helping each other. We've got some new concepts, some new verbiage, things like this that go in that, changes in every off season, but, learning different drills and techniques and these things, the competition is definitely there, and it's a good group of guys, and I'm excited to see how it all plays out.
Sarah?
When you had conversations with David Coley about coming to Houston, what stood out to you about that, and what made you think that this was going to be a good situation?
Well, I mean, did you ask me, did I have conversations?
No, like what stood out to you in those conversations you had with him that made you think that this was going to be a good situation in Houston?
Oh, I see. Well, I really, you get an impression with him, even through the phone, a very honest man, sincere, driven, he's a person that I think believes in structure and doing things the right way. And those things are very kind of sometimes are forgotten, in my opinion, in this sport. And he has that. And so it's a very easy situation when you interview with him and understand where he's coming from. And his expectations of us as myself as a coach, he expects me to do things the right way as if he did them. And I think that's important part of it when you're building a team and chemistry. I like those dynamics.
John.
James, Tim Kelly said earlier he's going to have to call more running plays this year after they didn't run it much last year. As a former lineman, how do linemen feel when they know they're going to go out and establish the run and it's going to be a big part of the offense?
I think, the fact that, when you say those things and we do them, linemen like to get close. We don't like to play as much in space. So we like to run the ball. And, I think it's something in the mentality of it. It's been around forever for linemen who have, it doesn't matter if you're in high school ball or you're in professional, running the football's an attitude. And, I just think that things come, you get to open up your playbook a lot more, and linemen, we can use different tools to help, minimize their effect and their speed and those things, they do factor in games. So, running the ball is very important.
Aaron Wilson.
Hey, James, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
James, when you look at Pro Bowl left tackle, guys like Laramie Tunsil, what does he bring to the table as for having that building block, that foundation to protect the quarterback and also some of the things he can do in the run game?
Mm-hmm. He's a very, very gifted player. I mean, there's no question. And, he's been blessed with some unique skill sets and he can do a lot of different things very well. And, just like all of them, though, I do believe this, that everyone has different skill sets. We as coaches have to put them in position to exploit those, to make sure that we're maximizing those things within the structure of an offense. He allows you to do some things like you just mentioned on the backside of the quarterback, and he allows you to do some other things to be able to create matchups and those things for other players.
And sticking with the left side, Max Sharpening, he had a fairly promising rookie season. Last year, he had a COVID situation. He had some health issues. Really wasn't the second season he was hoping for. What do you see from him this offseason? Do you feel like he's primed to bounce back and be your left guard?
He has worked extremely hard since I've been here. Watch all the guys work out. They've been working out together. I peek down in the weight room, watch them. Obviously, we've had the field work. He, like everyone else, is in a very competitive situation. I mean, we have a lot of competition. A lot of competition was brought in here. Good football players, high character room. The 15 guys that are in there are all driven to do one thing, to make sure everyone gets better. They help each other with all the drills, with learning and so forth. So I think, like Max, with everyone else, I think the expectation is very high for everyone to play like we're supposed to play.
Brandon.
Hey, Coach, going back to sort of that offensive lineman mentality that you were getting at earlier, when we talked to Justin Britt a few weeks ago, he, for the most part, expressed that, talked about, when he coming here and having conversations with you and wanting to run the ball. How much does Justin Britt sort of reflect that attitude, and what's it been like working with him so far?
Well, Brandon, you're right. He is, he's got a lot of energy now. I mean, and he's excited to get back on the field. I mean, the guy was one of the best centers in football until he got hurt. And I'm sure that, I know that he's excited to get back on the field and to get back to how he was playing and exceed how he was playing. And, he knows what it's like to run a football. They ran the football a lot up there in Seattle. And, he's got leadership traits and things you look for that are very positive for the group and to bring people along with him. But again, there's guys that were here last year and guys that the new guys, that running the ball mentality is very important. I mean, it sets up a lot of things for you. It really does. And I know, like I answered the other gentleman's name. I'm sorry, I forgot his name already, but he kind of hits a nail on the head. Linemen want to run the ball, and it's a fun thing to do. It's fun to do anything, pass block, run block, but there's just an attitude thing with running the football.
John?
James, could you talk about the competition between Howard and Cannon at right tackle and what you like about each of those guys?
Well, I think the competition is really more widespread than just two players, and I do believe that. We have 8 tackles on our roster right now, and I think 7 or 8 guys that can play. We have some flexibility with our linemen, which I think that, a lineman that can play more than one position and can be trained as such. Obviously, Marcus has been playing right tackle for a long time in this league, so I don't anticipate him moving very much, but other people can move around. And I think the competition isn't just with 2 players. I don't believe that. I think that, at the end of the day, there's a job requirement for 5 linemen to play the positions that they're going to play. And that job requirement could easily, as you well know, it can, your right guard could be your starting center for a couple of series until a shoelace is fixed. So you don't know, but you have to assume those responsibilities, and there's a criteria for each one of those positions. And I think that the competition is what's going to be really exciting. It's going to help these players to get the best out of them, to motivate them. And it's going to be a heck of a camp, until this thing kicks off. And I'm excited to see how it shakes out. I really am.
What do you think about Titus Howard?
Well, I think he's a bright young man. I've been very impressed with his knowledge of the game and very impressed on his recall. He knows all the positions, and he's very, very studious in that factor. That's just something that I would not have known because, we did our draft work on him and those things, but getting to know him, he has very good recall, and he's a smart kid.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, good morning, Danny. How you doing?
I am excellent, Aaron. How about yourself?
Great, thank you. Danny, you've got an interesting backfield to work with. You've got some veterans, all guys that have been to the Pro Bowl. Just in particular, David and Lindsey and Mark, what do you see from those guys just individually, and give us a thumbnail on them? Thank you.
Collectively, great group. Again, you're talking veteran guys who's been around. All have had, great success in the league thus far. So excited about it. Individually, what we're doing is working on fundamentals right now, just getting a great feel for each guy. And I like the skill set from each guy. Everybody has a little bit something different to bring to the table, which is going to be a great asset for us this year.
Christy?
What do you like particularly about Mark Ingram? I mean, he's obviously been around for a long time and had some really great success, but do you feel like he can also be an asset, not just on the field, but as far as like being a mentor to some of your younger guys?
I think you hit it on the head right there. Veteran guy, been around a couple different locker rooms. He's a leader, natural leader. Just his ability to, be around the guys and, and talk about things from his experience. That's one of the first things that we talked about, from day one, from your experience, what does it take in a room like this? And he voiced his opinion about some things, and everybody was in agreement, and vice versa. Everybody kind of brought something to the table like that. But I think that's the key for himself in his career right now, being a leader. But also, he's a guy that's going to work hard each and every day.
John?
Danny, Tim said he'd like to call more running plays this year. As the running backs coach, how much do you like the fact, you're going to run the ball more?
Well, again, I like that. I think with the skill set that we have in the backfield, the different guys that we have, along with some additions up front as well, I think it bodes well for us to be able to run the football, ball control, keep our defense fresh. So I'm excited about that. Our guys are excited to hear that. And now it's just a matter of just putting the plan in place.
Aaron Reese.
Hey, Danny, do you think Rex, Mark, and Phillip and David all have varied enough skill sets that there is kind of a role for each of them on this team, or will it need to kind of be sorted out through camp, kind of who gets carries?
I think all of that will sort itself out. Again, right now we're just really just working on conditioning and just getting the base fundamentals down from a positional standpoint, more so than plays. And I think it'll sort itself out. Again, just looking at, what each and every guy can do right now has been exciting for myself. So as we move forward to training camp, it's going to be even better. Once the competitive juices start to flow, I think we have a better feel for that.
Brandon.
Hey, Coach, could you just describe what the collaboration is like for you and the other coaches in terms of trying to improve that running game? Like, I know you mentioned you guys making some changes up front. Like, how does that all come together with you and the other coaches on the staff, whether it be camp or the offensive coordinator with Tim Kelly or whoever it might be?
Well, I think it's a good question. We talk about collaboration. You're talking about not only camp and Tim, but also Coach Andy Bischoff as well, working with the tight ends. They all come from successful programs or organizations that have run the football well. And I think, you put the mix of what we've been able to do here with those guys, we should be a little bit different than what we were in the past. And, and trying to build on that, each and every day, just talking through different things that they've had success with, what we've had success with. And it's been a great conversation each and every day. And we'll continue to build on that as we move forward to training camp.
And also, Coach, it seems like it probably goes without saying, but how much would it help you guys to just have, if it turns out you guys end up having all the ones that you have, the depth on the, I know, or the depth at running back? I know after David or Duke would get hurt, it would kind of get real thin for y'all last year. How much would this help the situation now?
Again, you look at the guys that we brought in. Nick has done a great job of adding depth to the room, competition to the room. And again, you're talking 4 guys with experience plus the younger guys that we have, with Scotty, Buddy, and Duntrell as well. So experience is the key. So we don't have to deviate from the game plan, whoever's on the roster going in week and week out.
Aaron Wilson.
Hey, I wanted to ask what your newest signing, Rex Burkhead, and obviously Rex got a lot of film and a lot of time in this league. What do you feel like Rex brings to the table for what you guys are trying to do as he works his way back to health?
Well, so far, the main thing is for himself is getting healthy. But again, a veteran guy with experience, with success. One of the first things that we talked about, when he got here is, the things that you guys have done to be successful in the RB room. And again, same answers from the guys before, cohesive unit, going to bring a great work ethic to the table, but the experience as well. And not a lot of nuances for himself as far as learning the offense, a lot of similarities to what he had before. So, I like that, so he can help us all again with his experience and the ability to make plays.
John.
Danny, last 2 years, we pretty much knew who your first 2 guys were going to be. Now, with one fewer preseason game, and in the past, coaches didn't run the veteran backs much in preseason. How difficult is it going to be to figure out this competition, and exactly what are you going to be looking for, considering what you are able to do because of the limitations in training camp and one fewer exhibition game?
Well, again, I think that's a great question, John. I think you go back to the experience of each and every guy, what they've been able to do in the past. And then, as with the amount of reps that we'll get, moving forward in training camp, it really comes down to consistency and what we're trying to do on a daily basis. And I think that'll work itself out, and prayerfully, hopefully, as we go down that road, the guys can stay healthy, which will allow them the opportunity to compete. It's going to be a great, healthy competition, and I'm looking forward to it. And every rep that they get, looking for that consistency each and every day.
Thanks, Danny.
Pep, you worked with some great young quarterbacks as rookies. And even though Davis Mills was a 3rd-round pick, you've seen him since he got here. What do you think about him as a prospect and his progress up to this point?
I tell you what, I had the opportunity to evaluate Davis way back when he was in high school. Good friend of mine, former colleague, David Shaw. We often talked about the kid that was coming out of, I think, Sugarloaf, Georgia, right? And lo and behold, I had a chance to follow his career during his time at Stanford as well. And he shows tremendous promise. He's working hard, just like the rest of our guys. And we'll see where this skill set will take him.
Mark Berman.
Pep, as you know, and Coach Shaw said recently that, because he runs the pro-style offenses, that should help give Davis a head start in making the transition to the NFL. How much have you noticed that? And how much has that helped him where he's at right now? I know it's a small sample, but from what you've seen.
Well, I think it helps a ton, just the familiarity with really the fundamentals that are necessary to play from under center. In a lot of cases, you have kids that are coming out of college these days that have never taken a snap, all right, from under center, and just that transition of taking a snap from center, dropping back and processing information can sometimes slow their curve. So I do think that, the things that he was introduced to at Stanford and the skill set that he developed at Stanford is going to help him to have a better chance to play winning football in the National Football League.
What about the fact that in college, he was able to make checks at the line of scrimmage? He's calling plays on his own, where a lot of college quarterbacks don't do that. What do you think about that thought?
Well, I think without a doubt, that's going to help to really just give him a better chance of coming out, understanding NFL defense, processing that information pre-snap, and ultimately being able to be a good decision maker in the National Football League.
Aaron Reese.
Hey, Pep, obviously you worked with Tyrod in LA last season. What sort of asset was he to Justin Herbert, and how can he kind of help Davis in this transition as well?
Well, Tyrod was a tremendous asset to Justin, as well as to all the guys in that organization out in LA. But he's also just a natural leader and a great example of what it is to be a pro here in our building here in Houston. So the consistency in which he prepares himself to be able to go out and play winning football is something that you notice from day one. Every day, we treat every day like game day, and Tyrod is the epitome of that.
Aaron Wilson.
Hey, Pep, good morning. When you think about the philosophy and kind of what you guys are doing in terms of collaboration, you, David, and Tim, and the other offensive coaches, how would you describe your philosophy, just how you see offensive football?
Well, I think, Coach Coley has mentioned quite often that, hey, we're going to be a fundamental-based team. And that's collective throughout the organization. We want to start by doing things the right way. And we'll see what that ultimately is. I mean, what do we have to do to win games is yet to be determined. We're still in the stages of not evaluating players, but just teaching and really, just trying to give them a fundamental base that's going to help them to play winning football during our upcoming season.
Obviously, you're familiar with Nico Collins. Just what do you feel like he brings to the table? I know he's a rookie and he's learning and all that, but just in terms of potential and things he could do as a big wide receiver for you guys.
Yeah, you just said it. He's a big body wide receiver that has a tremendous catch radius that'll make contested catches, and we're excited to have an opportunity to continually see him grow and develop and see what type of pro he becomes.
John.
Pep, you've got a lot of new players on offense and a lot of new coaches. And of course, you don't have it normal conditions as far as teaching them because of protocols. What has the transition been like for you to come in with so many new players?
It hadn't been very difficult at all. I think, when you consider what we had to deal with last offseason, just having the opportunity to share the field with our guys has really been a plus for us. It gives us an opportunity, as I mentioned before, to really get our players grounded in fundamentals. That's the thing that Coach Coley has emphasized. And, having the players in the building, the players that are here in the building, it's been great.
Adam Wexler.
As you've had a chance to kind of dig in on this playbook, this offense that Tim runs over the last 2 months and include your input and your familiarity with Tyrod, do you think he's a particularly good fit for what was already in place and you guys can then work around what he does well to enhance things?
I think, first and foremost, when you look at, Coach Coley's background as an offensive head coach, I think without a doubt, our staff understands that it's our job to do whatever it is our players do well and to ultimately put them in a position to be successful and score as many points as we can, in particular, one more point than the opponent this upcoming fall. But, I think, we have enough experience and creativity on the offensive staff to come up with ways to give our guys a strategic advantage.
Vanessa.
Hey, you kind of alluded to this earlier, but can you describe David Coley's style as a head coach and what you've seen from him so far?
High energy. I think more importantly, positive energy. And the players, they're working hard. Their attitudes have been great. And coach has been very specific and just making the point that, fundamentals are going to be the key to our success. And we're excited to do just that, put our guys in a position to have a chance to go out and play winning football.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Hey, Andy, how you doing?
Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning. Andy, with some of the things you guys did with the Ravens in terms of bully formations and some of the unique personnel you had in there, how much your playbook, just are you able to incorporate some of the things that you were able to do there as you and David come in here and try to put your imprint on the offense in tandem with Tim and Pep and everybody?
Yeah, I think the first thing is the building here has been completely open to ideas. Tim is a great leader that way in terms of acknowledging some of the things that we had success with. Everything we do here is gonna start with the foundation of Tim's offense that becomes our offense. But from Campy to him to anybody else, there's a real appreciation for what we did, and there's talent in our room to be able to do some of those same things. So certainly excited to implement those things as we move along.
Thank you.
John.
Andy, could you got 7 tight ends, 4 new guys. Could you give us a rundown of Akins, and then one that Houston people are interested in is Coley Waring, since he was a 3rd-round pick and hadn't been able to get on the field much his first 2 years.
Yeah, well, thank you. What I can tell you about the 7 guys is they're coming to work every day with a smile, an appreciation for teaching, and an energy of wanting to get better. And this is a time right now of learning how I teach, learning how they learn, getting the playbook in. And each guy has individual talents that I think we're going to see more and more over time. The competitive situations are going to occur in training camp, but right now, there's nothing that these guys can't do that I'm not used to seeing from a tight end room. And, specifically Jordan, he's a veteran guy that he acknowledges his strengths and he acknowledges his weaknesses, and he wants to get better. And he's been nothing but a real pro and a welcome student to what I'm trying to get done. Kahale, Udo's a talent, and it's just a matter of him just putting it all together, relaxing, and letting the game come to him. And I think we'll do things that allow him to play freely and to be at his best. And that really goes for the whole room. Every guy has individual talents that are going to help us.
Go ahead, John. You have another.
Yes, I do. Thank you. Brevin Jordan, most people didn't think he'd be there when you guys were able to draft him. And can you talk about his progress from beginning with the rookie mini camp up through, going in now in your last week of OTA?
Absolutely, John. First of all, exactly a guy that talent-wise, a lot of people expected to be off the board. We were elated to get him when we got him. And what I can tell you about Brevin is he comes in every day with a smile on his face. He's smart. He's a competitive guy. He wants to improve each day. He's not a guy that needs multiple repetitions to get it right. And it's a process right now. It's a big playbook and different from colleges. A lot of colleges have a much more condensed system. And we're just going through each day, chipping away in it, and we see improvement every day. And so he's a welcome addition, and he certainly adds to the competitiveness of the room.
Adam Wexler.
Hey, Coach, can you tell me what it's been like to work alongside Coach Coley in the past, and what it's so far been like to work with him now as he's the head coach?
Absolutely. Coach Coley is full of energy, and that's consistent on a daily basis, really in whatever he does, whether it's a meeting, whether it's a team period on the field, whether it's in game. I mean, he's a consistent person with energy, and it's positive energy. He's always going to take the positive approach over the negative approach, but at the same time, he has an element of great experience that the players are willing to listen to and acknowledge all of his years in this league and who he's been with. And so what I've seen in him as our leader here has just been the same energy, a man with a plan every day, and keeps it very positive for the players and the coaches.
John.
Tim Kelly said he was going to call more running plays last year. The Texans ran the ball less than any time in team history because the passing game worked so well. But what about your guys as a group? How important is it for them to block and contribute to the running game and not just the receiving game?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you want to put a group of men on the field that play the tight end position, that put the defense in conflict. And if you just roll a guy out there and they say, this is a run, you roll a guy out there, this is a pass. You can't live that way. That's not the way you need to live in the tight end room. You got to be able to throw a group out there that is multi-talented, versatile, and really puts the defense in conflict. And that's what we're going to aim to do. And some guys are going to have lean a little heavier on their passing strength. Some guys are going to lean a little heavier on their running strength. But we got to be Swiss Army knives in our room, and we got to be able to do it all.
Thanks, Andy.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.